Welcome to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I am your host, Rob Gauthier, the ET Whisperer. The Enlightenment Evolution Hour is a part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Any ideas expressed by the guest, myself, or commenters may not necessarily reflect the same opinions of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Enlightenment, defined. It is the state of giving or receiving greater knowledge and understanding about a certain subject or situation. Evolution, defined. The gradual development of something, especially from a simple to more complex form. So what is enlightenment evolution? The state of giving and receiving greater knowledge as we develop from a simple to more complex human being living on Earth for our soul's experience. Welcome now and join us as we explore our Enlightenment Evolution Hour together. The Enlightenment Evolution Hour is simulcast live every Wednesday at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, from the Enlightenment Evolution Hour page, Matrix Minds Facebook page, and the ET Whisper YouTube channel. It is also redistributed from the Forbidden Knowledge News Network and Conscious Awakening Network. Hey everybody, welcome to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I'm your host, Rob Gauthier. What a beautiful day we have today, guys. We are going to talk to a very, very special guest, Riz Mirza. Amazing dude, a great channeler. I've checked out his work. I really love to talk to this guy. Before we do that, we got to do the things that are sometimes boring for you guys, but it's important for the show. First, we have an announcement for the show. Next week, we have Oriya Mirza, and she is related to and connected to this guest by being a husband and wife couple. She's going to be an amazing guest, and we've got other guests to announce as we come. I don't have my calendar in front of me. Sorry, guys. I was busy chatting with our guests before the show, so I didn't grab that, but check out the ET Whisperer YouTube channel and or the Enlightenment Evolution Hour Facebook page to find out what the guests are coming up. And for those of you who are listening to the redistribute through the Forbidden Knowledge News Network, you guys can always join us live over here if you'd like. If not, continue checking out that. Also, for the ET Whisper announcements, actually for the Enlightenment Evolution Network announcements, tonight after our show, you can go to Instagram Live to Out There Talk with Valiant himself. He is back up and running the show. It is an Instagram Live show, and it's over at Out There Talk, and you can go check that out. Also, for the ET Whisper, the one big announcement is we are doing the 3-day Sedona Transcendent Retreat, and we also have our previous guest, and we also have the group of guests that we had a couple of weeks ago. Ruben Langdon's going to be there, and we have some exciting news about that same event, but the version in March. We just found out that Wendy Kennedy, Sean Swanson, and myself are going to be channeling there in March. So we'll give the dates for that. But the Sedona Transcendence event will be this September 22nd through the 24th, 3-day conference. If you get the VIP tickets, you can watch me and Ruben do the CE5. We also have a sound healer who's going to be there, amazing person. And we're also going to have a guide who has goggles with night vision. So we're really going to have a great time at those. Get the VIP pass and you can join, and you can say, hey, I want to be with Rob at this time. I want to be with this person at this time, that person with that time. And you can choose yours. Otherwise, you can just join and let Spirit take you where it needs to go. But that's going to be September. If you want 10% off that retreat, use the code ROB10, capital R-O-B, capital R, little O-B, and then 10. And that's the coupon code for 10% off. I'm trying to think. Kalina. Check out Kalina Angel on YouTube, Angel with 2 L's. She put out a video a few weeks ago. It's really great. She plans on putting another video, and she is going to be sharing more and more of her channeling. So check that out. Beautiful, lovely, sunshine wife, partner, Kalina Angel. I think that's it for announcements. I want to talk to you guys tonight. The reason you guys came here, we're going to talk about Riz Mirza. Now, first, Riz has been a trance channel, numerous spirit guides who have helped heal and uplift thousands of people in over 2,500 live full trance channeled weekly gatherings called the Circle of Light, with over 8,000 hours of documented and recorded sessions to large groups. For 15 years, Riz's weekly live and in-person channeled spirit, the Circle of Light, has helped humanity answer every type of question, human concern, from the individuals who want to explore their spiritual path to the ones who are experiencing human trauma and pain in their life. And the Circle of Light receive wisdom, support, clarity for their soul path situation, and most importantly, how to surrender to their higher selves. But as always, there is definitely a better way to get to know him by connecting with him directly. And instead of talking to you guys about him, I have a beautiful surprise for all of you who listen weekly, who don't often get to see this. I want to bring in our guest right now. Riz, hello, how are you doing?
Rob, how are you?
I'm doing great. And for our listeners who come here weekly, they're not used to getting to see people's beautiful face, but we figured your face was beautiful enough to get it on the screen for this week. So thank you for coming, brother.
Well, I'm glad I got my light set up over here so that you can see me clearly. Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here, Rob. Thank you. Enlightenment Evolution. I love the title.
Oh, well, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that very much. And I want to start where we start with all guests. You've been around long enough, you've done enough interviews. People who know you know your story, but I want to know what's before the story. What type of things in your childhood, your early life development kind of set you up to be the guy who could have the story? Like, what kind of things during your childhood opened you for the possibility of all of this cool stuff?
There's so many ways to talk about what influenced you, because there's a lot of mediums out there whose grandmother was a psychic, or they say my mom was a psychic, my aunt was a psychic, or I come from this line of new age thinking. Maybe some people have that. And my family came from India, but I was born in Harlem, New York City, raised in the Bronx, and I was a shy, inquisitive, psychic kid living in the Bronx in New York City. And it was almost as if, I think, being shy and scared of the dark lent itself to feeling what we call the spirits, what we call the spirit world. And I had my first psychic experience at the age of 7 years old. So you have the psychic experiences going on, which any medium usually has those experiences when they were a kid. But what influenced me was actually popular culture. Growing up in the birthplace of hip hop in the Bronx, growing up on rock and roll and World Wrestling Federation. I bet you weren't thinking you were gonna get these influences from a channeler.
I love it. I was going through that in the early 80s and
But you
same
know what
thing
we
too.
learned?
Yeah.
Right, but why were we into that? Because those personalities, those were people who were fully out. And me being a shy kid, and everybody who's watching, if you were one of those kids, you knew that there was a version of yourself inside of yourself that maybe if you just had the chance to let it out, or other people gave you permission. Well, I didn't wait for anybody to give me permission. I gave myself permission to be myself. And anytime you are going to be yourself, and you guys know this out there, anytime you are going to do something that is supposedly against the grain, or different from your family, different from your friends, different from what, they expect of you, being this particular skin color. I'm of Indian descent, so I'm Indian. So, you got to be either a doctor or work in IT. I do work in IT, though it's more the information technology, the inner technology. That's what I like to say. But going past those expectations, and you guys know this, that when you have to be yourself, then you're going to open yourself up for the people who are like, yes, do it, and the people who are haters. And let me tell you, if you really want number one target practice in this world, just say you're a psychic medium or a trance channeler, and everybody who doesn't believe in those things is just going to come out and be there, spewing all that stuff. So my influences were the big personalities. So I'm talking the wrestlers, the rock stars, the hip hop artists, And then on the other side, it was watching television. Back then, we didn't have so many networks, and you just caught one show that was about UFOs. You caught one show that was about ghosts. And I would just wait for those shows to come on, because I used to turn to my family and say, this is real. This is real. Pay attention. So I was raised, I think, by media. It just wasn't the internet. And my influences were that. And so it's almost like there's a prerequisite, Rob, of people who do creative or expressive things. So I do something expressive, which is being a channeler, is where you're surrendering to something that's coming through you. Great artists do that also. I think that great anybody does that, meaning anybody who's great really allows the energy to come through them. But when we're talking about psychic phenomenon, now we're talking about intelligence that exists. Every culture has said you are not alone. Religions say you have angels. Traditional belief systems that go predate religion have said you have ancestors, you have spirit guides, you have animal spirit guides. But something happened in the last, what do you think? Is it 100 years where people were like, went into their skepticism of this truth, and they would rather believe in either nothing exists or some other belief system. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, I think the last 100 to 200 years in the Western societies, especially, it's been no-no. A lot of tribal people, indigenous folks all around the world still hold their belief of family, ancestry, connecting to spirits, connecting to spirit guides. But the Western society just says, nope, that's not going to happen.
And what's
It's either
crazy is
God
that,
or nothing.
right? And we all come from indigenous people. We're all indigenous to the earth.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so indigenous doesn't mean you have my skin color or darker. Indigenous, you're indigenous in the Celtic lands or in ancient England or the Germanic tribes. No matter where you are in the world, your people, your ancestors are indigenous to a particular land. But humanity is indigenous to the earth. So what happened is that we removed ourselves from the natural world, because the supernatural, what we call the supernatural, spirits, ghosts, spirit guides, anything that people are trash talking and calling it woo, not your audience, but you guys know who are listening, the people who don't even understand why you're watching a podcast like this, or you don't even tell them because you're so connected. You know something. You've always known something. And so you're exploring that and confirming that. So when we are adopting these unnatural, I call unnatural, when you don't believe in the supernatural, I think it's unnatural, because
I like that.
What is the supernatural, Rob? Guys, the supernatural is just the natural world. The supernatural is natural. We are not this flesh and bone. We are spirits. Anyone who has ever had a transcendental experience, whether it was through meditation or whether it was through ayahuasca or any other plant medicine, you have this direct experience with source. And you are experiencing intelligence. In your enlightenment, you're not alone. You're feeling connection. What are you connecting to? You feel inspiration, which is, what is inspiration? Information, messages coming through to you. You're aligning, you're recalibrating yourself. But we spend so much time asleep, putting junk into our bodies, junk into our brains with what we're watching on television. I don't mean the good shows. I'm talking about mostly the news, because it's mostly bad news. And all of that is doctored and authored for an agenda. Programming. Now, there's great programming too. There's fantastic TV shows. Hey, I grew up on Saturday morning cartoons, and let me tell you, it still is the joy of my life to see that innocence and that magic. And if your spirituality, if all the work that you're doing doesn't come back down to surrendering to the love and beauty and magic of your life, not hating on other people, for what? If you're hating on others, you're sitting in your little keyboard warrior, what does that say about you? It just says that you're probably not doing anything worthwhile with your own life, worrying about how other people are living theirs.
I've never met anyone who's felt like that and behaved like that, who just
What's
goes to
successful?
videos to hate on people, right? I've never met someone who does that, who actually has a joy in their life to focus on. It's usually that lack of joy that causes that.
And if it is, it's just attitude, man. You know, I grew up in the Bronx, and it's like people talking like that is we had two different ways of dealing with them. We ignored them or we shut them up in our own way. And now that I'm a mature adult, married with children living in a house, I cannot act that way.
Well, I
So,
wanted to ask you a
I
little bit
s-
about that too.
yeah,
How long did you live in the Bronx for? Because the
man,
reason
my whole life.
how long?
I moved to, I am from New York City, and I moved from New York City in 2008. So what, 15 years living on the West Coast.
I see, because you feel like East Coast Midwestern to me. I'm from the
Wait,
Midwest, and
Midwestern? Not, no disrespect, guys. Midwestern? Really?
well, East Coast and Midwestern have a
Because I'm
little edge
nice.
to
Because
them,
Midwesterners are
right?
nice. Let's say that.
Yeah, well, Midwesterns aren't always known for being nice either. From Chicago to Detroit, I live smack in the middle of both, and you have a little edge to you, and that's not a bad thing. I like that. You're very honest. You directly communicate when you say the way that you feel about things, even as it comes
You
from a
want to know
spiritual
why?
aspect.
Can
Why
I
is
tell you
that?
guys why? Because this is what I've noticed as an observer of life, especially the last 10 years. You know how earlier I was talking about this is the comment kind of era we're in, where
Oh
everybody
yeah.
has something to say. I've seen videos where there's a beautiful thing happening in the video. Someone is saving another person's life. Someone is doing something really great. And then you'll see comments of people like, yeah, but I noticed that you have a Big Mac wrapper in the back. And don't you know what that's doing to the world because McDonald's is doing this or that? Or then somebody else is saying, you know, finding something wrong with the way the person looks or judging them on whether they seem rich or poor or smart or speaking coherently or well, or judging them by their grammar. I mean, you name it, you cannot put anything out almost on the internet or anywhere in the world anymore, it seems, but especially on the internet, without someone saying something, and it could be the most beautiful thing ever. And like the spirit guides say, I'll tell you, Red Eagle, who's one of the guides I channel, said, even if Jesus himself and Buddha were to come back and have an Instagram or Facebook account, there would be haters and saying, so where you been all this time? Oh, man, great, you come back now and everything sucks. Or I don't even believe you are Jesus or Buddha. And who's going to take them out? Someone's going to be planning to take those people out because they'll believe that's the Antichrist. Oh, it's supposed to look this way, not that way. And you're supposed to say this, not that. And so it's almost like you can't say anything without someone having something to say. Someone will say something about this right now that I'm saying, something that feels like, oh, I'm just being my authentic self. And someone will say, oh, that's not authentic. Please don't. Then what you say to people like that, guys, and people act like that in your life, just tell them, why are you even talking to me? No, honestly, why are you talking to me? Why are you watching? Why are you talking to me? Is it entertaining? What is it? So we are coming to this tipping point in the world now. What's the tipping point? The tipping point is where you wake up out of your bullshit. What's your bullshit? Anything that's victimhood, blame, regret, anger, and judgment, and depression too. Because if you know inside of yourself that peace, freedom, love, joy, expansion, discovery, curiosity, creativity, togetherness, oneness is how you would like the world to be, then you have to live that way. And you say, how do I do it in this world where people are hating so much? And I go, well, you got to be very, very connected. There was this comedian, was it Cat Williams, who said, you better be connected to your star player. Your star player is inside of you, and you don't let anybody take that out. You don't let anybody extinguish that light that you are. Nobody can take that away from you. Not people at your job, not your family, not people walking down the street, certainly not people fools on the internet. So no one can take that away from you. You live for yourself. You surrender to that with yourself. Otherwise, you're going to go through life constantly worrying. Man, people constantly worry what other people think, and maybe that's human. But the whole reason why we are even on a channel like this and a show like this, Rob, and what you're doing is so important, is that the whole word of evolution, that means that this is an eternal process, right?
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I think the Earth Collective has been moving towards that gradually forever. I mean, evolution will always happen, but with the consciousness kind of pushing at the forefront of this time to expand humanity past what
Right.
we've dealt with, it's become intense for a lot of people, and I think that's what pushes a lot of the hatred. A lot of that stuff kind of boils to the surface, and people are faced with, hey, are you going to hate for the rest of your life and just be miserable, or do you got to deal with it now?
Well, people pick you're right. People pick they say that even when it comes to politics and presidencies, people pick like within the first 5 minutes of who they're going to like. They don't like pick somebody and then later they're like, no, I think I like the other person to be president. They just base it on some things that speak to them, which is programming of who they think almost unconsciously is the right person. And then they stick to it. We will stick to sports teams no matter how many years they keep losing.
I was a Lions fan for a long time, so I can vouch for that.
Can I share with you guys an example of something?
Oh, please do.
All right, Enlightenment Evolution, our audience, thank you for having me. But I want to ask you this. I want you to picture this scenario. I want to show you how deep beliefs go. So let's say you're watching a sporting event. All right, you guys picture somebody in your family or a friend who really loves any sport, and you're sitting in the room with them watching that sporting event. Could be tennis, football, baseball, basketball, it doesn't matter. So you're sitting there watching with them, and their team is losing. And they're going, oh, damn, I can't believe you missed that shot. Oh, my God, how did you make that mistake? What's going on with my guys today? And they're losing, they're losing, they're losing. And it's a really important game. And you're watching your friend totally just really struggle. And they're just in a bad mood now, right? Because if your team isn't winning, certainly if they lose, you're not going to be in such a good mood, especially if it's the big game. So now imagine if you just say, hey, I have a question for you. And you interrupt their whole watching the game. And then you say, I know how you could feel better. And they say, what are you going to do? Some magic and make my team win? And you say, kind of, I am. Oh, yeah? What are you going to do? Let me try this on for size. You want to win, right? Yes. And why do you want to win? Because I want the feeling. You want the feeling of winning? Yes. You want to celebrate victory, right? A game well played? Yes. Where you beat the other team? Well, yeah. Okay. Obvious, no shit, Sherlock. Okay. Well, here's how you could do it. I could have you feel that feeling like that right now. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Change teams.
It is that simple, but most
Root
people
for them. They're winning. Let go. Root for them. Now you're winning. Now you could be celebrating at the bar later when everybody else is pissed off and depressed and hoping they're going to get him back the next game. Okay, so let's say you say, well, what do you think, Rob, it would take? 10 out of 10, no one's going to do it, correct?
I would say yes.
Yeah, they'd be like, I've been with this team for 10 years. Okay, let me ask you another question, just a logical, rational question. So this team that you're with, let's say they lose every game for the next 10 years. Every game. Are you going to stay? When is your breaking point where you go, I can't do this anymore? Mind you, remember, we're talking about a game. We're not talking about like how you feel about human rights. Okay? Because if you believe in human rights, that you're not going to change. We're talking about a game. And there's a reason why I'm bringing that up. So some people will go down with the ship till the end. They will stay with that team no matter what happens until they die. And they go down with the ship. And why? Because there's honor and merit and loyalty in that. They're doing it for a different reason, even though they think it's for winning. They have to win with the thing they believe and chose because it feels like the moral right thing to do. And maybe as human beings, we are programmed innately somehow to be this way because we are also, guys, we are religious by nature. What does that mean? I don't mean with religion, but things we do religiously. So your religion can be hip hop, your religion can be heavy metal, your religion can be classical music, your religion can be numbers, science, chemistry, home renovations, you're building things, yoga, cooking, being mad forever becomes a religion because we get something out of it in that moment. And so we do these things religiously. So it's in our nature to be religious. We need something to direct it towards. So some people are going to go to what we're doing here. And some people are never going to, doesn't matter how much sense we make right now, they don't want to. So you have to let go. And this is a long answer for when I said, you want to know why I speak the way that I speak? It was because why not at this point? People are going to just tear apart everything you say anyway. So relax. Relax, guys.
I honestly enjoy that aspect of you being able to just share and share as you are when you're doing it. I know it's not a popular thing for channelers in the spiritual community to speak outside of, hey, just, love everyone, love everything, and be nice. And if you say, hey, life can be hard sometimes, or hey, people have problems, hey, this bad thing is happening in the world, but we can work on it. It can shake people up. Some people look at channelers almost as they do religious figures. Hey, you're supposed to be a perfect guy. Me and my wife have been told before, our two kids have special needs, like, you created that experience, you're doing something wrong. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I enjoy the honesty, I enjoy
Special
the
needs
frankness.
kids or people come with major activation and deepening opportunities for not just the parents, but for anyone who comes into contact with them.
Absolutely. I would never have started my spiritual journey had it not been for my son and our daughter. He's 24 and my daughter's 4 years old now.
Wow.
And she's only expanded my horizon that much more. So, no, I agree with you. The
They're
special needs
listen,
kids.
they're your gurus. They are your Atlantis. Like if you were from Atlantis, they were your teachers coming back to be with you guys again. And so they already instilled this in you from your previous incarnation, which is just now you're just extending it, and you are still in the loop, in the circuitry of healing, transformation, and growth, where they gave it to you last time and it's coming this time. So this is the understanding that, doesn't it make sense? Doesn't it bring you more freedom? Because, Rob, what are we going to do? All of us, whether you believe in channeling or you don't, where the things that you believe, some people will say, well, I have to be based on fact, but facts are different for everyone because there's an experience that people have. People have experiences. The people who've seen UFOs, they say, I know what I saw. There's a great documentary called I Know What I Saw about UFOs. But it's, I know what I saw. That is a personal experience that one has. And that's all the facts that people many times need. So what we are sharing as channelers is that we've been up a certain part of the mountain and we're coming back to people who are not at that point yet. They aren't, and that's okay. Everybody has something to teach everybody else. And channelers come back and say, this is what we have experienced. And this is what we're sharing with you. Try it on for size, see if it makes sense, see if it can work for you to have more peace in your life. Because religion is so people can have more peace in their life, they'll say. Ultimately, they want to live a good life, what is in accordance with them. And people who are new age, which is the old age, by the way, oldest age is the new age.
Oldest religion around.
Of course it is. Everybody comes from the new age belief system originally. So this comes down to when people say, well, what's real and what's not? And as channelers, those of us who understand channeling, that we are not the only things in this physical environment, that you have, and every belief system has already told you this, that you have ancestors, angels, and the world is full of spiritual celestial beings. So this is even true in religion, they say this. Now, there's also these contradictions where that exists, but don't do this, don't be involved in that. And then we are coming in saying, well, there's room for everyone. If something is bringing you a deeper understanding that makes more sense to you, then why not listen? Whether it comes from me as a channeler or a book or something, or it's in a fortune cookie, I say, if you come across it, that message is for you. The universe isn't going to place you in any situation that isn't meant for you, even if that's painful. And I'm speaking from someone who, I've lost people close to me, mother, father, best friend, brother, you know, in great tragedies. And I would say, well, that is in many ways what influenced me to come out and get past that shy kid, and discovered internally that I was actually different. I wasn't this shy kid. I was just very sensitive. And that doesn't mean that you can't be out here and fully expressed as yourself.
Yeah, that hits home too for a lot of people who believe and understand their own part of their creation, coming into alignment with these things that feel really horrible. And when years go by and you put some space between it, you see how necessary that was for your development and growth and expansion. Absolutely. That's
Yes.
beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit too about, you told us about your influences, and you told us about, your decision to go from being that shy person to just being yourself and sharing your channel. Can you tell us a little bit about how that channeling developed?
Music is how it developed, actually. And I discovered that I had a knack for naturally playing music. So my first instruments were the drums, and then I moved on to guitar, and I started teaching myself. All these instruments were self-taught. And I didn't become a virtuoso at anything. That wasn't my path, but certainly I would say acceptable in all those instruments. But I noticed that when I was playing, something was going on musically. There was something that was taking over, where I understood where my hands were supposed to go on the instrument or on the piano. And these were original compositions. And because what we're learning and what we're teaching in metaphysical studies is that everything is vibration, certainly music being the most potent form of vibration, because it's the most popular thing in the world. Music is the most popular thing in the world. Every culture has it, and every culture loves their music. It's very rare to find a person who goes, I don't like music. Very rare.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so music is the most popular vibration, and that's because it moves us. That's because it reminds us, brings our energy up, also helps us to go become sad and kind of be in that intimate sad space. You could be sad, listen to a sad song, and you'll keep playing the sad song and going deeper and deeper into your sadness. Why? Because it's a way of being intimate with yourself emotionally, and it's allowing you to purge that sadness out. You just maybe need to listen to that song 100, 200, 1,000 times for the next 6 months, and it will help you let go, because it's vibration. And it's vibrating at a frequency that is matching where you are and giving you perspective. So those experiences as a musician, and then getting up on stage. Now, mind you, I wasn't doing meditative music. I was singing heavy metal. So I was on the
Oh,
stage,
nice.
hair out to here, more eyeliner than I even wear now.
Oh, I
And
love it.
yeah, and people were like, that was what was my thing, though. And that's what really got it out for me. And something was happening on the stage. And then I wanted to go into theater, and I wanted to go into all these other things because something was happening. And I didn't know. I thought it was through art. But what was happening is that I was surrendering to the vibration of spirit, of universal source energy, the force, Luke Skywalker and Yoda bringing in the force. So that was the only acceptable way to do it, which was to do something acceptable like playing music, or then I was a painter. And then it was like writing things, and the writing of the music, writing of the song started giving way to automatic writing, which is a stream of consciousness or higher consciousness that comes through by letting your hand relax on the page with a pen and let whatever comes out, come out. So now let's go into what was happening. Well, living life, trying to succeed as an artist, New York City, pounding the pavement, doing all the things that artists do, then suffering different tragedies. As a teenager, my mom dying. And then as I got older, my best friend taking his life. And then my brother dying, and then my dad. All of these things kind of broke me down into a place of honesty. That's the best thing you can get out of something terrible happening around you or to you. And so then I went to a channeling circle. You know, by chance, you ended up at a channeling circle. Some people come to me. Man, it's been 15 years. People have come up to me all the time. They go, I wasn't supposed to be here. And I go, yes, you were. They go, I don't even believe in this shit. And I go, so what? Did the message help you? Yeah. I'm like, so do you believe now? They're like, yeah, kind of. And I go, wait, kind of? Wow, that programming is big. You just said you loved it and the message rang true for you. And now you kind of believe. All right, fine. So let's go forward. So I ended up at a channeling circle randomly, everyone. You guys know that what that randomly is like. At the home of a gentleman named Alex Murray, who passed away a year ago. He became my teacher and mentor. And it was the most extraordinary experience I'd ever seen in my life. We were in this little apartment on the Upper West Side of New York City on a rainy Tuesday night. And he was a soft-spoken former musician, classical musician. And I went and sat down. I'm only 27 years old. And 27, by the way, guys, you know that whole story about the 27 Club, Rob?
Yeah, that's a huge phenomenon. Yeah.
So people who die at 27, Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, Amy Winehouse, Kurt Cobain, all 27. In numerology, 27 equals the number 9, 2 plus 7. 9 usually represents coming full circle. Why? 9 months in the womb, 360 degrees in a circle, 360, add them together equals 9. So numerologically, it means you've completed a cycle. Also, astrologers out there, you guys who are into astrology know that 27 and 28 is your Saturn return, which usually means something big happens. So some people physically die, some people spiritually die and have a new lease on life. Well, this is what was happening to me. 27, I go and sit there and I'm thinking at this channeling circle, I'm going to get a beautiful message to inspire me, to uplift me, to reset me. And instead I got a spiritual spanking and a scolding. What do you think of that?
Well, I think if I had no idea what channeling was or what it was about, I would say, well, that was just a waste of time. But knowing what I
like
know
40
now,
bucks too. Yeah.
Knowing what I know now, it's
so
exactly
that person over there is getting this great message. Archangel Michael is coming through. So Alex Murray was a trance channel, guys. Trance channeling is when you kind of nod out and the spirit guide takes over and speaks through you. This is not so weird. Your ancestors did it. Every tribe did it thousands of years ago. There was a channeler in the tribe. It doesn't matter if you're brown, black, white, yellow, red, whatever skin color you have. Your ancestors had channeling in the tribes. This is nothing strange. It's in your DNA. For a longer period of time in your DNA than organized religion. Fact. So I'm watching this, and listen, I'm a New Yorker, half New Yorker now.
Half a New Yorker, right?
I love Los Angeles. It's given me everything in my life and beautiful.
You're bi-coastal then.
In here, baby. Yeah. So listen, so I'm watching the trance channeler. I'm going, I want to believe this, but I'm not going to believe it till I believe it. So Alex goes into his trance. He explains what channeling is. He kind of does this invocation. I'm looking around going, okay, I can tell that person's been here before. These people haven't been here before. Okay, let's see what happens. And he nods off and he comes up and he starts speaking in this British accent, which was interesting. The voice tone changed. Kind of he held his body different. So I'm looking at him like, is he acting? And then the wisdom that was coming out, eloquent, articulate, interesting, with this peaceful but energetic cadence to the way it was being spoken, which caught my attention. And then I said to myself, as the messages were being given to people, and I could tell that person hadn't been here before, and the spirit guide is saying stuff that's spot on, whether it's the person's mom's name who passed away or some situation in their life or something going on with their body. Spot on. The person is reacting. They're getting a great message. I'm looking at the channeler just like, I'll spot it if this isn't real. And I said to myself in that moment, either this guy is the greatest actor I've ever seen, like ever, forget Daniel Day-Lewis and the rest of them. This is the best right here. Or this shit is real. And then I went, oh, this shit is real. Okay, I'm in. So I'm watching the rest of it, great messages, comes to me and is like, spirit guide is like, what's your name? I said, Riz. And they go, I got a Rob. That's, oh no. I'm back in school getting in trouble. And they kind of paused and basically told me that everything I was doing was from the wrong approach. Either I wasn't doing things assertively enough, which surprised me, or I was too assertive, which surprised me. Everything surprised me because I guess I didn't have any perspective on myself. And they told me I wasn't going to make it as a musician. And Rob, you've been a channelist. They're not going to tell you no. Usually spirit guides don't tell you no. They kind of help you go on a new path, but they don't come right out and go, no, you're not going to make it as that.
Yeah, no, that's not a common theme.
Oh, dude, they said that to me. And I was like, I'm only here for that question to be answered. If you could give me a message from my mom who's passed away, I'd be really grateful. So I'm sitting there like, oh my God, what's being said? At the very end, they said that I was going to be a channeler, that was going to be my life. And I was like, no. First of all, I can't even do that. Secondly, I don't want to do that. And third, what about my creativity? And I went back home on the subway that night, confused, upset, but still believing because I know what I saw, and what I saw was amazing. I just didn't like what I heard for myself. And there's always one person every couple of circles who also feels the same way after one of my circles and doesn't get the message or, wants to resist it.
Yeah, doesn't like what they heard in there.
Yeah, doesn't like what they heard. And then sometimes that person will come to me 2 years later and say, I was here 2 years ago and I didn't like what you said, but guess what? It was right. Now that I thought about it a year later, I mulled it over and everything was actually true about me and I'm turning it around. And I said, thank you. Good for you. It's not about anybody's higher than you. It's just about everything that you know, guys. From how to turn on this laptop, somebody taught you. From how to put your shoe on. Look around your room. Everything was someone brought to you or showed you how to use. We don't learn anything on our own. Even when you think you do, it's because there's an example of something else around you. So when, this talk about how all the answers of the universe are inside of you, the guru lives inside of you. You don't need any of what do you mean you don't need any teachers? Are you crazy? Are you not paying attention to the actual reality of your life? I just finished saying there's nothing that you know how to do that no one taught you or showed you through example or words or in a dream. It was shown to you somehow. You are in an interdependent reality. The guru may be inside of you, but he or she's sleeping. That's what they should add to those memes. So people come into your life to awaken some part of you to look at yourself better. And to understand, is a vibration inside of you combative, suspicious, angry? Like, what is ruling you on the inside internally? And it's funny because we're here talking about evolution. And I'm here as a channeler and as a psychic medium. But I'm going to tell you something. The field that we're in as a psychic medium is now psychic mediums and channelers are becoming the life coaches of this new era. The New York Times actually had an article on this about 10 years ago, and it said psychic mediums are the new life coaches. And I think it's because the new generation of psychic mediums are not just coming to tell you, oh, I see someone coming into your life with brown hair coming next year in February and this or that. Yes, we still do that, guys. We still have those visions as psychic mediums. But there's a whole other wave of things that happen in a reading now, which is how we are starting to receive messages about how you're creating your reality and what everything meant so far and how you can shift your energy because you are the creator of your co-creator of your reality, and how to understand what's going on inside so you can understand what's showing up outside.
It's a developmental stage for people who are on their spiritual path until they reach the moment when they do start understanding that everything that comes into my life is needed to reflect something back to me that's vitally important for my growth
Woo.
or that's vitally important for my path. And channelers usually are the ones that kick it off. You know, people get people thinking, maybe other types of teachers. And then when a person develops that understanding that they do have to let go of what they feel
Right,
they can't control and focus on the things that excite them,
right.
that's when they start seeing, you know, the person who normally you thought was a crazy person just screaming at you, that has something for you. There's something in that.
Oh, it's the endless story of we live for the stories. That's the story, is that everyone on planet Earth lives for the story. I live in Los Angeles, and while anybody can think what they want about, oh, it's superficial and Hollywood or whatever, listen, Hollywood, the entire industry is built on stories. So is music, by the way.
True story. Yeah.
All is stories. Everyone is in this industry. They're making tons of money and they're influencing people and they're creating inspiration and creating things you like or you don't like. But listen, it's all about stories. It comes down to the people who are at the head of the studio, the executives who maybe aren't artists at all, most likely, and then the artists who are making the stories. Everyone is still circling around the fact that stories mean things to people. So they try to make television and film and animated shows and everything and VR experiences and video games to give to the people what it seems that they need. And even though some of the stuff is programming, and a lot of people, I hear this all the time, people go, oh, they're out to control you. They're out to do this or that to you. Number one, you create your reality and you're responsible for your own vibration. Don't blame it on the programming. You are the head programmer of yourself. So take that off the list that other people are trying to do something to you. You can watch or not watch. You can judge or not judge and understand that all of this is part of Earth School for you. Mine for me, yours for you. And so the whole point of channeling, the whole point of this, what people are calling alternative, holistic, new age, whatever word you want to use, that's not the traditional belief systems of the recent past, then you have to really let yourself see what works for you, to where you actually have legitimate more peace and understanding of your life. So when I say to people, when I talk about channeling, and by the way, are we going to channel today?
If you are open to channeling on the show,
I'm always
I would
open to
love.
channeling. That's
Yeah,
what you guys are here for. We can talk and it's fun, but I'm sure everybody wants it late. Let's bring the spirit guides through, and we will, guys. We will definitely do that today.
all right. Are you willing to take some questions from the audience, or do you want to just have them come through to give a message? Up to you.
Well, I think what would be good is, and it's not a time for personal messages. I do that on my live on my own YouTube channel, and it's kind of set up so people can really get something out of it. But I think that what would be interesting is to ask not personal questions tonight from the spirit guides, but questions that all of us can enjoy, that everyone who's watching
Good
can.
collective questions.
A collective question. Ask about anything that's happening in the world and what that means, and that's good. One of the guides I channel, his name is Phineas, and Phineas is I call him the professor. He's got that interesting accent and totally different way of speaking. I enjoyed him very much. He's channeled many writings through me, and and before we channel, I want to say this about the spirit guides. Two things I want to say, guys. Number one, everyone here believes in their evolution, in metaphysical concepts, vibration, frequency, could be Reiki, could be energy healing, could be crystals, could be astrology, tarot, Wicca, whatever it is, psychic channeling, empath, shamanism, anything. We're all on the same page here. But so I just want to say this, even though you know this, your spirit guide's job is not to give you what you want. Your spirit guides have a job, and that's to help you connect the dots of the reality that is unfolding in front of you. To help you connect the dots. Remember the books that when we were kids, connect the dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you would follow the line and then suddenly a picture would appear. So they help you connect the dots of these points in your life that are meaningful and see the bigger picture and understand it with more perspective. And that is what the job of your spirit guides is. It is not to give you what you want. People do this all the time. Spirit guides bring me this or that. I go, why did you quit religion? Just go back to religion and ask the angels to give you stuff. Don't be in this field where we are coming from is actually understanding that we are one with source energy and that our belief system is helping us to, our belief system is creating this reality with us, right? So that is the job of the spirit guides. And they do intervene. There are moments where they pull you out from an oncoming bus so you don't get hit. You know, they do intervene at times. And we all have had some experience where we go, man, that was divine intervention. So they do the little miracle things too. But that's not the main relationship. Number 2, for those of you who never experienced channeling before, think what you will, but here's a piece of advice. Try it on for size if you like it. It doesn't matter whether you believe in spirit guides or channeling or me or Rob or anybody else. What might matter is if something is stirring or activating you in a different way, triggering you in a different way. It's worth your investigation that there's a kernel or many, many kernels, or maybe an entire stream of truth for you in that, and that you should listen to it. Again, don't need to believe in spirit guides, don't need to believe in channeling. I don't care what you believe in, but I think that a smart person would listen to something that maybe has something in it for them. So when you walk through life this way, you're coming, and this is all the spirit guides taught me this. What I'm talking about, all was taught to me through the channeling, is that your path, which is called your life, you don't have a spiritual path separate than your life. You're living your spiritual path, whether you're doing yoga, drinking green juice, meditating and channeling and doing that, or you are somewhere doing self-destructive things, you're still on your spiritual path. You can never get off your spiritual path. There's a conscious spiritual path, which is you are doing things that are good for your body, mind, and spirit. And then there's the unconscious spiritual path, which is even if you're doing destructive stuff for yourself or your brother or your sister or your friend or your dad or your mom, is being self-destructive. They are on their spiritual path, guys, because you're just waiting for them to hit the wall. And unfortunately, of course, we don't want them to die, but we may have to watch them fall over and over again so that they have their realization inside of themselves. And that's the only true impetus for them to make a change. This is the whole point of why we're talking here. This is what evolution is. Isn't that what it is? Is that you are surrendering to this greater version of yourself coming forward. So, yeah.
A lot of people in our community have that judgmental thing still, even after understanding the process. And they're like, oh, these people are so low vibrational, non-conscious, blah, blah, blah. And I think, you know, they have to go somewhere.
They may be unconscious, but you have to hate them.
Right. But, you know, they're doing what they need for their path. They'll get to where they need to be by the time they're done with this life, like all of us.
Right. And, you know, it does, listen, guys, it does get frustrating when you have friends or family that you know are suffering and you go, if they would just shift and hear me out and try this thing. My God, people have been coming to my circles for years and go, I still can't get my husband or my wife or my friend to come here. And then I said, well, let's do a circle at your house. And that's happened, let me tell you. And then like the partner has to be in and like begrudgingly sits on the couch, but gets this powerful message.
It's amazing to see how different people get there, though. You know, I've heard people talking about, you know, I was deep into the conspiracy realm and then I found something talking about meditation and then I took this turn and that turn. Other people found it through martial arts, mixed martial arts. I mean, it's crazy how they get there, but everyone gets there who needs to be there for sure.
Have you been listening to Mike Tyson lately, guys?
Oh my God, he's amazing.
Right. Well, mushrooms changed his life. And now we're watching something that people used to do in college going into the mainstream. Of course, it wasn't supposed to be done recreationally. It was part of a sacred sacrament that was part of actual transformation, connection to source. And then it was taken out of context. So things taken out of context, we know how that goes. They're very destructive. But Mike Tyson, Jim Carrey as well, by the way, used plant medicine and began to come out of this massive experience in life where they became the center of everyone's attention. Mike Tyson did, and for things that were not good.
No,
And
he had a
behavior
rough
that
go
he
of it.
himself has admitted that that was wrong, and things that he did and how he felt and how he behaved. But if you guys, if you have a chance, I want you to just Google Mike Tyson and just see different. He does this on a lot of podcasts, and he bursts into tears and he cries about what he did and how he thought and the beauty of life now and the joy of life now and how he never wants to fight. He doesn't want to hurt another person, and he's coming from this new place. And he had to do it by, my God, look up, if you know anything about his life, he went through so much from a young age and then self-destructed. Jim Carrey here making everybody laugh in the world, but crying inside. And then he's on his consciously spiritual path, meaning he's conscious about it. He's doing it on purpose, is what I mean. With purpose and on purpose. So this is happening in the world. We're stepping out of, with psychic mediums, we're stepping out of, for the most part, it still exists, out of just the crystal ball thing. I do have a crystal ball, by the way, several, but you know what I mean, right? Rob, are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to kick someone here in the comments.
Rob started getting a message from his spirit guides while I was talking to him.
Yeah, no, I had to take something out of chat that was a spam bot, but yeah, I totally agree with you. And watching Mike Tyson was something beautiful for me. I love that guy. As a kid, my dad and me bonded over watching him fight so many times. He was such an amazing boxer, athlete, but he had so many problems. And then when I watched him talk about his toad experience, the toad stuff, and how he felt like he was going to die, but that brought him to this beautiful understanding of himself and this growth. It was quite fabulous. And the expansion that he's been sharing has helped a lot of other people start their expansion. So you're right. It's mainstream now.
Yeah, because some of the guys who have really been following him have had a similar path, or they're in that, Mike Tyson actually talks about when you go into the toxic masculinity. And listen, we suffer from that being passed down from our dads who were wounded and emotionally shut down, or their dads left them, or our dads left us, or didn't do right by us, or by our moms, or whatever it may be. But as men, we're starting to see that this idea is that we are more balanced in the yin and yang. What's
much
the yin
more?
And yang, right? The yin and yang, right? Have you guys seen, like, look at this sun behind me, right? But then draw that line down, like yin and yang, black on one side, white on the other, represents the masculine, feminine energies. We are not talking about gender and genitalia when we say yin and yang, but because we're talking about the ebb and flow of energy in all beings. Of yin, and yin is what some people call the feminine, and yang is what some people call the masculine. I don't call them that because right now that language is getting very, it's up for debate. So I just say yin and yang, because yin represents receptive, intuitive, perceptive, and nurturing. And yang represents building, protecting, analyzing. Okay? We're clear?
Absolutely.
So within the yin, there's yang. On that white side, there's a black circle. On that black side, there's a white circle, which means like a mirror next to a mirror reflecting endlessly. You'll see like the mirror in this mirror and the mirror in this mirror going on for infinity. That inside the yin is the yang, inside the yang is the yin. And now we're talking just about energy. Stay with me, guys. We're just talking about energy. Energy that flows like the ocean current. It's going this way and that way. The tide is going in and out. It's the yin and the yang. And every single person needs that within them, the balance of the yin and the yang. Don't you want to be receptive and nurturing and intuitive? Don't you want to be building, strategizing, analyzing, being able to be a protector as well? You want to be that. All of those things are within you. Doesn't matter who you are watching this. So we are in this space now, in this new time. Interesting, but you see a lot of channelers over the years always say in this new era. Man, there was a new era 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. When is this new great big shift? Oh, now's the shift. Oh, now's the shift. Oh, now's the shift. I could read something channeled from like 10 years ago, and it's good, but that language that some of them tend to use, my dear children, you are entering into the phase of, and I'm like, oh, this is, I don't know. Something about this is a little distorted, because are we constantly entering into the big stage? No, we're not. You're not constantly entering into the big stage. If you live life on planet Earth, you know big things happen at certain times. So I want to say to you guys, as we step in, bring Phineas in, is that questions that you'd like to ask. Rob, you're going to be
Yeah, I'll be moderating and asking, and I'll take the
some
ones
water
that are
before I begin.
collective. Before you jump into, there was one thing I wanted to ask for some people in the audience who might not have a frame of reference for this. You're a trance channeler. I'm a trance channeler, but a lot of channelers are conscious. They're semi-conscious channelers. There's a spectrum there. Can you explain what that trance-like energy feels like for you, and explain a little bit of that process of how you connect to that for others?
Thank you. So trance channeling and channeling, full trance channeling means that you are actually more like in a sleep state. You are allowing the spirit guide to completely take over the voice box, even your hand movements, your facial expressions, and they are taking over while you are in the back seat taking a nap. That's a full trance channel. A channeler also can be someone who hears the message and then repeats it. So they're kind of channeling in that way. I am a big fan of trance channelers because it's highly entertaining and intriguing and dynamic to watch a good trance channeler.
It is a bit different,
because it's
right?
like you're talking to the spirit guide themselves. Can I tell you something that definitely I'd like to address?
Please.
So some people say, okay, so you can channel Saint Germain, Archangel Michael, you can channel this, but you can't channel Merlin. Merlin isn't real. So you can channel Moses, Abraham, and these other religious figures because they're real, right? Yeah, they're real. Gotcha. So Merlin's not real because you believe it was written in a storybook. Yeah, I mean, it's in a storybook. How can it be real? Is it possible that spirit guides exist? They are not incarnating on the planet, but they are communicating to people who are receptive, like artists, writers, philosophers, thinkers, speakers, channelers. Is it possible? Well, anything's possible. Okay, got you. So if anything's possible, Merlin is a spirit guide that for thousands of years has been communicating to those who will listen. So some people will write the book from 200 years ago. Some people will make him as Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, as Dumbledore in Harry Potter. But the archetype of Merlin exists as a celestial spirit guide force that comes through. So for someone to say that's a fictitious figure, then you might as well say every figure in religion is a fictitious figure, because somebody else could debate and say, I don't care what you say in that book, it's not a fact. So then there are people who will say, well, how can you channel somebody who is a celebrity? How come you can channel Tesla? Then Tesla should be sharing the secrets of all the machinery he did. What makes you think you understand what goes on the other side? They are not exactly the same personality when you cross over. So your racist uncle is not your racist uncle when he's on the other side. He's taught by his spirit guides and he's doing work on himself, and he has gotten some enlightenment. So when he comes through, he's not going to come in on a racist tirade. He's going to come through and actually sound peaceful. This has actually happened in readings of mine where someone comes through and I say, your uncle's coming through. I'll name the uncle. And I'll say, he's coming through and he's saying how beautiful it is, how beautiful you look, and how happy he's looking over the family. And the person who's getting the reading is going, that doesn't sound like my uncle. I mean, you got his name, but that's not his personality, because he was a racist jerk. And I go, you're not a racist jerk on the other side. You're not black. You're not white. You're not brown. You're not Native American. You're not Chinese. You're not Indian on the other side. Even though the spirit guides come through sometimes with a British accent, with an Asian accent, with a Native American accent. Okay? That is because they're choosing to use the channeler's device in a certain way. If the channeler does not speak Russian, it's because these tongues, this mechanism isn't designed to speak Russian, because the channeler doesn't speak it. that spirit guide will come through a Russian channeler. But if this Toyota only goes to, is an automatic, you're not going to move it into a manual transmission. You're not going to make a violin sound come out of a guitar. The spirit guides use the instrument of the channeler, guys. These are important questions that people sometimes ask. Well, why can't you channel in a different language? By the way, I did once. Another story for another time. But we don't, because the mouth and the whole system is not designed for that. And it's not a show and tell. This is just about getting a message across. So they say, well, Red Eagle comes through you. That's a Native American spirit. Okay, and? Well, you should talk in Native American. For what? To prove to you he's Native American? First of all, your spirit is not, on the other side, you don't have an ethnicity. Do you really think you have an ethnicity? You think God, Great Source, Mother, Father, Universal, God, Energy is going to have differences amongst people and ethnicities when you are an energy body? You are expressing yourself in this body as the ethnicity that you chose. So when the spirit guides come through, Red Eagle has had many lifetimes where he wasn't Red Eagle. He had a lifetime where he was, I've seen him in other forms, but he likes that particular identity. So he comes through to us in that way, as Phineas does. Phineas was many, many different people. He had a lifetime that was very strong in England. So he has an English accent, but the Phineas that I'm channeling, he also had an American life. So now it gets very interesting, because now you got to go deeper with channeling if you really want to understand this. I like to give people a solid foundation on understanding, at least what I have experienced, on what sounds logical and sensible in this very unusual, very fantastical, very out there kind of concept called channeling.
Well, it's well needed. It's a large field with a lot of things that, most people who don't understand it think are really weird. And I like when you talked about the Merlin thing too. My guides have always described that as an archetype of consciousness. The same thing with the Archangel. There's that energy that's the Michael, the Metatron, Raphael, and those are archetypes of energies, and that's how they imprint that.
And so are we.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't matter. You don't need to be distracted by who's the spirit guide, where are they from? Is that the right this or the right this or the... We don't know what goes on the other side. Only channelers, psychic mediums, intuitives who had some experience, or people who've had some sort of experience, what they understand when they come back to talk about it is that it's so open-ended that your logical, your so-called logical thinking doesn't apply there, because it's all about vibration. It's all about the message that is coming through. And yes, I know, at least for me, when I've channeled certain guides, Charlie Chaplin is one of them. He channeled an entire chapter in my book, that they are in this other state of consciousness, evolved consciousness. They're not coming. Your loved ones aren't on the other side missing you, per se, because they see you. They've already experienced the truth that we are all eternal. We don't die. And they know that they're going to see you when you die. So they're not like, I miss you so much back here on Earth. It is our job to continue living, to continue growing, to continue evolving, and open up your senses and know that there are ways to receive messages from your guides in the universe. Learn online. People have classes. I have classes. You can learn from me. You can learn from somebody else. The point is just try to learn. Try to learn how to quiet your mind and listen to the subtler vibrations. The experience for me as a channeler, to finally answer that question literally, is that the spirit guides, as big and as powerful and as interesting and dynamic that they are, with their personalities and accents and volume, all of them, when I channel, they come to me, it's almost like a little touch of a feather on my shoulder. They don't come through this big energy where I'm like, whoa, it's dramatic. Here they come, coming through me. I have to become very quiet inside of myself, instantly super vulnerable, instantly super receptive, instantly almost in a state of, I almost want to say at a state of tears, like I could cry at any moment. I have to be that vulnerable. And then I'll feel that little touch on my shoulder. And then I surrender to that little touch. Like if you guys who have kids, when your baby touches you, it's this little hand on you and you just melt into it. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful. And you know that, Rob.
Yeah, the most vulnerable that a human can be, giving up the love. And that's the thing, too, that a lot of people don't understand about channeling when they're trying to learn how to channel. Vulnerability, acceptance, the ability to let go of what you think it's going to be, what you want it to be, what everything that you've seen other people channel like. You got to let it all go. You got to be as vulnerable as a human consciousness is able to be.
Boy, your antenna is up right now. I can feel, brother. You might start channeling during this, so try to contain yourself.
I will do my best. I go through a whole process. It takes me a while to get into that state. So
okay, so are we ready?
yeah,
So
fire away.
We're going to bring Phineas through. I'm going to start with I'm going to do a quick little blessing, guys, and it'd be nice at this stage. You guys have been so great for sticking with us in the last hour. Now we're going to drop in together. It's not just me channeling, it's you guys out there. And even if you're watching this video not live, it doesn't matter, because this is still happening in the moment and the vibration will still be with you. Okay, so please try to do this with us in this 1 minute meditation. And then you're going to kind of see me nod off, and Phineas just takes over. He'll talk for a bit, and then he will say that he's open for questions. That's usually what he does on podcasts. Okay.
Thank you so much, brother, for doing this. This is great.
I'm happy for you guys to be here. Thank you. All right, everyone close your eyes. I'm doing it too. At the count of 3, what we're going to do is take a deep breath in collectively. First, just begin by dropping your shoulders and slowing it down. What are we slowing down? Everything. Drop your shoulders, relax your forehead, your cheekbones, your jaw, your eyebrows, your ears, your scalp, your neck, your throat, my friends. Connect to your source, whatever your personal relationship is with the light. I ask you to connect to it now and surround yourself with that light. Let it emanate from the point between your eyebrows. Let that light expand in every direction around you, front to back, top to bottom, side to side, inside and outside. At the count of 3, we'll take a deep breath in through our nose. Send the air into your heart space, into your chakra in the center of your chest, and hold that air there gently, feeling it expand like light. And then I'll say blow it out, and you will blow out all the air through your mouth, releasing any tension, stagnation, or resistance. And then we'll do it one more time. Here we go. Drop your shoulders. 1, 2, breathe in. Into your heart, hold the air there, relaxing your shoulders, and do a all the way out. Gently and slowly breathe in again through your nose. Slower and slower and slower, please, till your lungs are filled with air. Hold the breath peacefully, no pressure. Relax your face and breathe out. Bow your head just a little bit with your eyes closed as I say this blessing. Great Spirit of love, thank you for uniting us for this moment. Thank you for the many blessings of the past, the present, and the future. Thank you also for the blessings in disguise of the past, the present, and the future. We send love to our ancestors, both known or unknown, from this lifetime or any lifetime, to our descendants, both born or unborn, from this lifetime or any lifetime, and to our spirit guides, perceived or not yet perceived. We thank you for sticking with us as we learn how to surrender, let go, and trust. We send peace to all beings everywhere, in every timeline, every reality, every dimension, because peace is what we believe in. Let that light get bigger and brighter, brighter and bigger, everyone. Here we go. Take a deep breath. Open your eyes and let go, and I'll see you later. I'm Phineas.
Hello, Phineas. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate you being here.
You are never in the wrong place at the wrong time. You are always in the right place at the right time. Imagine if that was told to you when you were a child. Imagine if you were raised with the understanding that all truly is for you. Imagine that when you were a child learning language, you came out of the womb understanding frequency, the frequency and vibration of the adults around you. You did not understand their words. You only understood the frequency that you experienced within your being. one of joy, if they were at joy, if they were in peace, if they were worried or fearful or angry, you could feel it with your being. As you grew older, you began to learn language. As those words were taught to you, you began to associate the feelings associated with the term. As you began to comprehend the language and learn how to speak and take turns in communication, you began to see that the vibration that those adults around you were emanating were not in exact alignment with the words they were speaking. You could feel energetically that they were tense, or a harsh or a negative feeling was emanating from them, but they were smiling. And they were speaking words of peace, though their energy was one of battle. They were speaking words of joy, but their energy was one of sadness or anxiety. And so this conflict, this interpretation of meanings, and this contrast of what seemed to be true and was not true to you vibrationally began. And so you began to protect yourself. For perhaps a part of you, though you may have loved your adults around you, a part of you became observant, a certain suspicion, to learn how to navigate through words, not necessarily authenticity of expression. And no, this is not a doomsday scenario. You have chosen to be in Earth School. This process of communication had to wither. You might say that the frequency process had to experience this disappointment that people were not saying what they were meaning or meaning what they were saying. But imagine if you were no longer susceptible to these downfalls of communication, that people were authentically true to you, talked about their problems, learned how to understand that their reactions were based upon their beliefs about a certain situation. Your reactions create the feeling within your body. If you feel that something is unpleasant, then there becomes a sort of resistance within the body, and your cells will feel it. Those who are in flow with things have more flow in their bodies, don't they? And so you are understanding now, at this very point in time, where you are again always in the right place at the right time. Now you may say, but there were many times where great tragedy struck me or someone. Are you saying then that they were in the right place for them to perish or to experience trauma or something terrible? That depends on your outlook. If you believe and understand deeply that your path is chosen by you on this planet, all of you who are watching and receiving this communication know that some of the most terrible things that you've experienced, unpleasant things, helped to or gave you the opportunity to create a new version of yourself. Ideally, that would be one who is more powerful in their peace, not more powerful in their combativeness. For trauma can make you combative, can't it? You feel that you are a warrior from that trauma. But you see, your trauma is your training. And one of the steps of that training is to make you a warrior. And then your graduation from being a warrior, yes, even a peaceful warrior, may you graduate from that. For the idea of a war is still present when you say that you are a peaceful warrior. Why must you have a war? Can you not embrace the shadows or the darkness, as you call it, the emotions that bring fear into you? Have you ever considered that there are no emotions, true emotions, other than love? Imagine that in your highest spiritual awakening, you have even said to yourself, there is nothing but love. In your highest awakening moment, you have discovered that all is love. Whether you live, it is love. Whether you die, it is all love, that your very essence is love. And so, if you believe that love is all there is, then these other things that you call emotions are not emotions at all. You see, the eternal flow is love. Think of it as a stream of water. Wherever this water is interrupted or pinched off, it means that you are resisting at some point, to some degree, the love or the magic that is present. Remember, there are certain cultures that when there is a funeral, they are dancing, they mourn very briefly. Then they are celebrating their loved one's return to the ancestors. They do not mourn and grieve the way certain other cultures do. And that is because their belief is very powerful that they, through the physical death, are returning to the ancestors and their true home. That the earth is a temporary experience for them to experience evolution of self. And so, depending on your understanding and your acceptance, your humility, and perhaps even your delight that you are in a school of learning, that will then allow you to break free through even the most dense fears. And these dense fears appear when you say, that was wrong. Now, it may be unpleasant, but was it wrong in the cosmic order? You may say, yes, it is even wrong in the cosmic order. That should not have happened. And that is a very dangerous, tricky place for you to be, for your emotions about something then can color your entire experience of reality. Indeed, your emotions do that, don't they? How do you make yourself have a powerful presence of mind, as you call it, throughout your day? But you see, enlightenment is not that you are consistently in this enlightened state of peace and you are vibrating and you are oming and you are in this joy. Your enlightenment or your spiritual fitness may be that you are able to return to a state of peace even though something has pinched you off in the moment. Let us say that the love flow energy is happening. There is only one emotion. It is called love. And everywhere where you pinch it off here, that becomes some confusion or some exhaustion or some sadness or some anxiety or some regret or some depression or then some numbness or frustration, anger, rage. All of these are different levels of cutting yourself off from the truth. And that truth, as you yourself have known it, you do not need us to tell you, but certainly perhaps to remind you, that if you, in your highest sense of understanding, believe that love is all there is, despite all of the troubles of earthly life, the unpleasantness, that you understand and you take deep into yourself that your trauma is your training, that being a warrior is a stage, that blame and regret are things that you no longer need for yourself, for you have surrendered to knowing all is for you. And this is a practice, and that is why they call it spiritual practice. Your enlightenment is your ability to return to your peaceful state, to discover what magic is within this moment. Now, the magic you may feel in an unpleasant situation is not a magic that is going to suddenly make you dance with delight. It is a deeper, quieter magic, a reverence, a humility that, even in this death, I am connecting. You see, there are those who experience the death of a loved one, and they have lost all faith in a higher power. Then there are those who have experienced the very same death in the very same family who see it as a sign of a higher power. One's experience within the body shall be different according to their beliefs. If you believe that it was wrong and it should not have happened in the cosmic order of things, then you will be troubled in the very vibration of your cells, and your cells will feel this. The other person who believes differently, that the higher power has now called them home, and they find peace within that. So you must be very mindful of the beliefs that you hold, that they are bringing you peace. A peace that is, in many ways, bulletproof. You cannot shoot holes in them, for you consistently find freedom in it. And perhaps your enlightenment, to define it, would be that you are able to find some sort of freedom, some sort of magic, some sort of special connection in any times of your life. And that would be a maturity, an intelligence. And love is certainly the highest form of intelligence on the planet. There is not a problem on the world that you cannot solve with more love, whether it is poverty, whether it is an emotional problem, whether it is the way you raise your children, the way you organize your societies, the way you distribute your food and your resources. If there is more love, then all are fed body, mind, and spirit. And perhaps towards the end, you will see this, that the only sense is love. The only intelligence is this. It will solve every problem, won't it? Think on it. For those who are negative tyrants who are in the world, trace it back to their childhoods. They needed more love, more self-awareness. And so, those of you who fear that a small percentage of the planet hold the power and the resources, send them love, send them awakening so that they may awaken to love, to know that their greatest power shall be their surrender to love, that they cannot take it with them, that they are not the bodies, ethnicities, or backgrounds that they have believed utterly to be them. Do not get too used to the ethnicity that you are. More than likely, it is your first time being this. Do not get too used to the religious background that you are from. More than likely, it is the first time that you are experiencing it. You are much more. You are multidimensional beings. And on that note, we are happy to take some questions.
Thank you very much. It's very appreciated. The introduction and the sharing is highly resonant with all of us here and appreciated. We do have a question from Nadia who asks, what is something that you might be able to tell us about that we can focus on for this year coming? Maybe some energies that might be useful for us to focus on, or just some themes coming up.
Blessings to you. Understanding. This word, you wish to understand more. That which stands and that which is under it. Think of it that way. We would have you focus on your language. The language you use in your everyday life, internally. In the way that you are reacting to things. In the simplest of ways, perhaps you are going to the sink and seeing the dishes. And you're not satisfied with the condition of the sink. Perhaps you do not even like your kitchen. Perhaps you do not like who is in it, or perhaps you love very much who is in it. Notice the language you are using in your reactive mind. This word reactive is very interesting, for in the English language there are certain words using the same letters that have very different meanings if you rearrange them. Reactive is one of them. If you were to switch those letters around, you would find that the word reactive would also be spelling the word creative. You see, you are either in the state of resistance or flow, reaction or creation. Now, one may precede the other. First, you perhaps may be resistant. And through deeper understanding and applying what you have learned, you may then go from resistance to flow. Now, with reaction, reactive mind, meaning that you are quickly reacting, a knee-jerk reaction to something, rather than to chew it, to swallow it, digest it. To then turn that reactive mind into a creative feeling, a creative understanding, a resourcefulness. The creative is meaning that you are now deciding that you can create your own feelings. You see, this has never been told to you, that you choose how you feel. You say, you're referring to the perspective. Do not downgrade it into cliches. Grow tired of these old words. Are you tired of the word love? Or the word trust, or the word surrender? Do you know what it even means to surrender? And so these words, reactive or reaction, changing to creative or creation, learning that you are scared of something because within that thing that you are scared of, that advancement by facing that fear will now become sacred to you. Scared and sacred are the same letters. Rearrange them. If you wish to be able to listen to the universe, the word listen also is the word silent. Move the letters around. And so you will then begin to see that these little changes, you see, you are not suddenly changing all of the letters in the word. In many ways, it is a slight change, changing the meaning of things. And so if you choose to then be distracted or have judgments about what is happening in the world, the various debates and political and socio-political conversations that are happening, or the conversations about technology and its role in your life, you are being distracted in a way, for you are then taking it away from, you have helped to create this as part of your soul path. Instead of judging it, learn how to reframe, learn how to recalibrate and redefine. First, the language that you are noticing within yourself before you even utter it. Or if you have no control over your mouth and you utter it, then to then look at it and say, is there a way that I could have said it better? So that you have a vibration within your cells that is more peaceful and therefore more powerful. And you are also, if you care for it, allowing another to feel that as well, if they are ready for it. And that is our answer to you.
Well, thank you so much. That's beautiful. I don't know about Riz's time. I want to be respectful to his time, but we have another question, one more question that we could
Certainly.
do. Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much. Morgan asked, what is the present energies coming into the planet right now? It feels very strong. And is that maybe Lionsgate related?
Yes, it is. Understanding what is the Lionsgate. You see, there are many people who will say, I do not feel a thing when there is this Mercury retrograde, when there is this Lionsgate. I wish to feel it. I want to feel this awakening. Yet they are ashamed or a little embarrassed to say that they do not feel a thing. And so they will speak it, but they do not feel it, and they wish to feel it. And of this, there is nothing to be shameful about. You are learning to understand the more subtle vibrations of cosmic seasons. The Lionsgate portal, which begins certainly towards the end of July, and then goes into the certain date of mid-August, that you have just been through, that is a cosmic season. Now, the physical seasons of your planet are the spring, the summer, the winter, and the autumn. Those you can feel very distinctly, for you have been reaffirming that there are seasons since you have been a child. And because you have been told there is a spring and a summer and a fall and an autumn, and you are able to then say, you see, when it is colder, I must wear this. That means it is now becoming the autumn. The leaves are turning a color. I see that with my visual, and now I can see that is autumn. And so in the places of the planet where the changes of seasons are more subtle, you must also become more sensitive to that. Certain cities, your city of New York has very distinct seasons, very clear. And your city of Los Angeles, where the changes are more subtle. They are not as extreme in their cold. Now, cosmic seasons are the planets, the galaxies, even the dimensions that are kind of here with you. You see, they are here, but they are in a finely tuned frequency. That we can discuss another time. And so the Lionsgate that you are referring to, and the animal associated with that, is a very appropriate one, for the feelings and vibrations of that season are about abundance, are about understanding what it is to be in the sensitive yet powerful heart. You must have your power and your sensitivity together. All of the things that all of you enjoy, whether it is art, whether it is music, whether it is food, has to have heart in it. But it also must make sense, must have a certain structure. There must be a certain strength to it. And so the lion heart is one which is sensitive and brave, but also compassionate, gentle, bringing the clan, the tribe, the pack together. And so are you able then to train yourself to be in your sensitivity to feel the cosmic seasons? Now, if you were raised in a culture where the Lionsgate was taught to you and celebrated with you since you were a very child, it would become much easier for you to feel in your adult life the Lionsgate portal. But you have been cut off or pinched off, as we have said, from that source belief and understanding, that you are one with the cosmos, that the moon is affecting the water on the planet, it is affecting even your moods, it is certainly affecting your reproductive cycle. And so the moon is very tiny, and yet it affects this earth and everything that is water on it. Now imagine the larger planets and the power they have. Imagine the sun, which is so much larger than your earth. Its flames can burn you from 93 million miles away. Imagine that. You must be in your home for when it is too hot. And yet that star, the sun, is so far away, 93 million miles. Now imagine the different planets. They all represent certain emotional states. Even the way the chakras are almost like planets lining up within your own inner solar system. They are giving off vibrations. They represent certain emotional states. So the Lionsgate portal, my dear, is what you are feeling, allowing yourself time to rest as the lion does. The lion knows when it is time to hunt, and the lion spends most of its time observing, communing as cats do, but also with the pack, and allowing yourself to take a breather. Lions know this. They know not to overwork themselves, and they always land on their feet. And these are the pleasantries also of this portal. Allowing yourself to be, let's just say, to be a lion or to be a Leo for a week or two. Don't be so stuck to your signs. It would be a very nice thing to have portals of every sign where you could adopt what it's like to be that sign so that you stretch and stay flexible. Maybe you shall then make that a celebratory period that you invented. Bless you.
That's beautiful. I really enjoyed that, and I thank you for coming and sharing your wisdom. We're already a little over, but we do appreciate your energy coming, Phineas, and we appreciate the
And we
wisdom
shall
too.
deliver Riz right up back to you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it happens that fast at this point.
Oh, that's beautiful. I really appreciate it. I know we went a little over. Do you have a little time to run through the lightning round with us? Because a lot of people
Yeah,
really
it's
like
okay.
to know.
Sure. What's
Perfect.
top?
Yeah, this is something we do, guys, called the lightning round. And what we do, many of you already know who Riz is as a channeler. Many of you have checked out his work. Some of you are just meeting him. But now we want to know the person behind the channeler. And these are some dumb, benevolent questions that I
Usually
created.
dumb, benevolent questions.
Yeah, that kind of helps get through, and we get to know you as a person a bit. I
I
find
love
it
it, Rob. You're so much
extremely fun.
That was good. I got the wand shop right. What can I point? I'm looking backwards. There it is. There's the wand shop. You see it reversed in the thing and in the screen. There is the wand shop. Brought to you by the amazing Mrs. Riz Mirza, who will be with you guys next week.
Oh, that's going to be amazing. I can't wait for that too. But the first question I have for you is, what is your favorite color?
Actually, my favorite color, at the moment, it changes, is like that beautiful turquoise teal blue, but metallic.
That's wonderful. It's actually very
at the moment, right? It changes, but right at the moment, that's what spoke to me. Okay.
Well, we've had a couple who like that turquoise to teal colors too, so that's beautiful. What's your favorite food?
Indian food for sure. Yeah.
Is there a specific dish?
Yeah, I mean, I eat everything. So I like kebabs and naan, and I like chicken biryani with yogurt. It's called raita in India, but I'm sure some of you guys know about it. And butter chicken, of course.
My wife was a practicing Hinduist for decades, and she lived very deeply in the Indian community, and she knows about all the good Indian food. But from Michigan, we don't get real stuff here very frequently. So
you have good Middle Eastern food in Michigan, though.
Yes. Oh, got tons of it. Tons of great stuff. Yeah. What is your favorite? Now you're a music guy, so this might be hard. What is your favorite band and or song?
My favorite band is Kiss, and my favorite song is Shout It Out Loud.
Beautiful.
Surprised you, right?
No, you're an 80s kid through and through, so I get it. I'm right there with you. What was let me see. I know I got a couple. What's your favorite animal?
My cat Poof, who I wish she was here right now. And she's a big black poofy cat, and that's why I called her. I actually called her Poof because people think I called her Poof because she's poofy, but the double meaning is like when a magician does a trick and they go poof. So I thought it was like a double way to say, I consider my nickname is Riz the Wiz. So it's like with all this wizard stuff, jokes about me all the time, but I would have this wizard's cat. That's the magical Poof. So that's my favorite animal.
Oh, that's beautiful. What is out of all the places you've been to around the world, what's your favorite place in nature for both the beauty of it and the feeling, the vibration feeling of it?
Oh my God. Well, one is I imagine, which I haven't been to yet, which is Switzerland. I see these videos on Instagram, the reels where like they're showing you the water and the mountain. And I go, oh my God, that's so pure and pristine. I have to get there and be there. But actually where I just was leading my retreat this past weekend, which was in Mount Shasta. And I have to tell you, I've been in beautiful places in nature, but it wasn't necessarily about the physical beauty, and Shasta and the whole area is beautiful. But I have to tell you, there is a real powerful, magical, magnetic vibration in Shasta. There's no doubt. I go to Sedona. It's beautiful. I feel the vibration there. India, Egypt. But Shasta, man, guys, it's on another level. It's real. I was channeling Saint Germain there, which is on my Instagram. You guys got to watch that on my YouTube channel. You guys got to see that. So I would say at the moment that was where I felt the energy the most. But visually beautiful, I would have to say, and I've never been there, it has to be Switzerland.
Well, you'll be there at some point, I'm sure. It's a beautiful place. Thank you for sharing that. What is your favorite childhood memory? If you can't remember a specific one, a general.
A few just jumped out into my mind. My favorite childhood memory was so when it was a birthday in my house, you would be woken up by my family would get into bed with me. So I'd be 10 years old, waking up on my birthday. My birthday's on Sunday, by the way. And I would wake up, and my two brothers and my mom and my dad would all crawl onto the bed and wake me up and say happy birthday and like give me kisses and hugs, and they would put presents on me. And I don't think anything can ever beat that. Yeah, I don't think anything could ever beat that. What came close is probably getting my first drum set. But the love of that family is probably the best thing.
That is truly beautiful. I appreciate that. I want to give you an opportunity to share the things that are coming up. But before we do that, I want to say a couple things. First, I appreciate you being here. I know you guys have a busy schedule. Secondly, I appreciate who you are. You bring yourself to the game. You're not afraid to say the things that you feel. You are yourself. So we appreciate that. And thank you for giving your channeling to the greater public. It's something that not every channeler does. And I always love the fact that people are willing to share that energy with a collective, so that everyone has access to it. So thank you for all those things. I want to give you the floor, and I want to ask you too, after we go off air, I know I've taken a lot of your time tonight. If you could stick around just for one thing too, I had to ask, man. I appreciate it, brother. So the floor is yours. Tell people how to find you, how to get a hold of you, what things you got coming on.
Okay. My Instagram is Psychic Riz the Wiz with underscores between it. But if you just type in Psychic Riz the Wiz, I should pop up. I do have a blue check mark, so you know that's me. Instagram is The Magical Life with Riz. My wife and I are premiering our own new podcast on YouTube, which is called Meta Mystic. You like that? It's meta. So we're going to go all the way beyond and talking about it. And we're shooting it right here. We have retreats coming up. It's a big thing. We have a company called Sacred Earth Retreats. And this is a company that we've had for 12 years, and we've been to led retreats all over the world. These are retreats where these kind of conversations happen. I channel on all of these retreats. For example, we go to Egypt twice a year. Well, we will be on camels with no other tourists around, plopping ourselves down behind the Great Pyramid on the sand as the moon rises and the sun goes down, and we'll be channeling the guides there, and people get messages. And it is 3 cities in Egypt. That's December and February every year we go. We also have a retreat for Sedona, Mount Shasta. Come to my website, rizmirza.com. You'll see all the list of retreats, and just drop us a note, drop us a DM and say, hey, I'm curious about this one. Things sell out really fast. I think there's a couple of spots left for each of those retreats, but they're going to go. So don't delay. Go check those out and join us. That's the best thing. And of course, we have personal sessions. You can get a reading with me on the phone. I mean, there's a wait list of several months, but so what? It flies by, and then your reading is there. And you can just book that yourself online on my website. Always happy to answer questions. I have an assistant. Her name is Erica. She reaches out to everyone. She corresponds for me on social media, and she's great. And she'll answer your questions. I think that's it. I can't think of anything else that's coming up. Oh, the Gaia conference, channeling conference in September. Do check that out. And you guys will know all this stuff if you just follow me on Instagram. And I appreciate that. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, guys.
No problem. I appreciate you being here, guys. And I want to thank all of you guys in the chat tonight. You were very active, very lively. We really appreciate you participating and being a part of this audience. And I want to thank you again, brother, for being here. Next week, we will have the Orion Misra that you've heard about throughout today. A wonderful experiencer, and she's got a lot of things that she's going to be sharing with us next week. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you every Wednesday at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern. That's 7 Pacific. I love you guys. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Good night, Riz. Thanks again.
Good night, man. Thank you. Good night, everyone.